Scarecrow Video's Children's Hour. In this series, we're talking about the elements of life. Do you know what the elements of life are?
Earth, fire, air, water.
That's right. And today we're going to learn all about fire, specifically the myths and legends around fire. I'm going to ask Miss Marva if she can help tell us some stories all about fire.
Today, we're going to learn about the element of fire. We're going to make puppets, masks, and watch great videos. Also hear some fun stories.
Let's read a book.
Raven, a trickster tale from the Pacific Northwest, written and illustrated by Gerald McDermott. Raven came. All the world was in darkness. The sky above was in darkness. The waters below were in darkness. Men and women lived in the dark and cold. Raven was sad for them. He said, "I will search for light." Raven flew across valleys, across mountains. He flew along rivers and over lakes. There was darkness all around. Then he saw a bit of light far away. He flew and came closer to the light. The light was at the edge of the water. The light came from the house of the sky chief, and it was shining. Raven perched high in a pine tree on the shore. Raven watched. He saw a beautiful young girl emerge from the shining house and go to the edge of the water. She was the sky chief's daughter. She knelt and drank some water from a woven basket. Raven changed himself into a pine needle. He fell from the tree and floated on the water. When the girl drank again, she swallowed the pine needle. After a time, the girl gave birth to a child. The child was small and dark with shiny black hair and tiny black eyes. Who do you think that child was? It was Raven. Raven had been born as a boy child. The sky chief was delighted with his daughter's child. He called him grandchild. He played with the boy and carved toys for him. He invited the elders to come and see the curious, wonderful child. The elders gathered in the shining house with the sky chief and his daughter. They watched Raven Child crawl around the floor of the lodge. He pretended to be playing. All the time he was trying to find where the light was hidden. He saw a box in the corner of the lodge. The box was large. It was carved and painted with many colors. The box was bright. It glowed. Raven Child said, "Gah! Gah!" "What do you want?" asked his mother. Raven Child said, "Gah! Gah!" He began to cry. "What does the child want?" asked the elders. Raven Child said, "Gah! Gah!" He cried and cried. "My grandchild wants the box," said the sky chief. The young woman placed the box in front of Raven Child, but he continued to cry. She took the lid off of the box. Inside was a smaller box. She took the lid off that box, and inside was a smaller box. His mother took the lid off of that box, and light poured out of it. Light flooded the room. Inside the box was a shining ball, blaring with light. What do you think the ball was? It was the sun. "Give him the ball," said the sky chief. His mother gave Raven Child the ball. Raven Child stopped crying. He began to play with it. He rolled it around on the floor of the lodge. "Gah! Gah!" Then he changed into a bird. "Ha ha!" And he became Raven once more. "Caw, caw!" Sky Chief, his daughter, and the elders looked on in amazement. Raven plucked up the ball of light and his beak flew through the smoke hole of the lodge and disappeared into the dark sky. Raven flew over the valleys and the mountains. He flew along the rivers and across the lakes. Raven threw the ball, the sun ball, high in the sky, and it stayed there. This is how Raven stole the sun and gave it to all the people. And why do people always feed Raven? To thank him for bringing them light. This is my friend Grandmother Spider, and I have a story to tell you that the Cherokee people tell about Grandmother Spider. A long time ago, the earth was dark. There was no sun, there was no fire, and people kept bumping into each other. Well, the animals decided to all get together and solve this problem. First, Silly Possum said that he would go to get sun for the people. So Silly Possum puffed his fancy tail up and said, I'm going to go over there and get the sun from the people and bring it back to y'all. So that possum went boop, 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 boop. You do it with me, okay? Boop, 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 boop. And he went over and he grabbed the fire. Well, what happened was, the fire got on his bushy tail and it burned it down. And now all possums have skinny, not furry at all tails. Now, the second part of this story is about Buzzard. Buzzard was a fancy guy. He thought he was all that. He had long, fancy feathers that he fluffed around and put his beak high in the air, and he said, I'll go and I'll get the sun. They'll see my fabulous beauty and give it to me immediately. So he flap, flap, flap. You do it with me. Flap, flap, flap. He flew to the people who had the fire and went to grab it. And they threw that fire on his head. And the feathers on his head went poof and disappeared. And underneath, Buzzard was all red and wrinkly. And that's the way buzzards have looked ever since. Bald-headed, with red, wrinkly faces. Well, there's a third part to this story. The third part is clever, teeny Spider Grandmother. Spider Grandmother was so small, the animal people almost did not even hear her when she talked. And she said, My dears, I'm going to go get some fire for us. And the animals all laughed at her. Oh, Grandmother Spider, you're so old. Oh, Grandmother Spider, you're just a girl. You're just a teeny old grandmother. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it at all. Not if Buzzard couldn't do it. Not if Possum couldn't do it. Well, Grandmother Spider said, Well, let me try, dearies. And so she did. But first, she went down to the river and she found some clay and she made it into a ball. And then she stuck one of her legs inside and used her other legs to help her pinch, 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 pinch all around until she made a pot. Now, all the animal people couldn't understand what she was doing, but they thought, oh, let the silly old lady do what she wants. Then Grandmother Spider wove a very, 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 very long string. She attached it to a tree by the animal people, and then she took that string and she took her little pot made of clay and she tiptoed quietly. Help me out. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. She tiptoed quietly all the way to the place where the people with the fire lived. And she looked to the left, she looked to the right, She checked all around, and then very quietly she tiptoed up to the fire, and she scooped some of it up in that pot that she made. And then just as quietly, tiptoe, 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 she walked back to the animal people. And when she got back to the animal people, she had brought them the gift of fire. Not only had she brought them the gift of fire, she also brought them the gift of making pots, because nobody had ever done what she had done before. So Spider Grandmother is very special to the Cherokee people.
Let's craft. What you need?
Paper plate or cereal box, paper, marker or crayon, tape, glue or stapler, scissors.
We're going to be making a grandmother spider puppet, a quick sun mask, and a special pinch pot, all to go with our fire exploration. Grandmother spider is really quick to do. You need a circle or paper plate. Doesn't matter if you want, you can use an old cereal box. We're going to take our good old paper plate, fold it in half, cut it on the fold, just like this. And so, before I staple it together, I usually decorate it. I'm not going to get too fancy, but I'll just show you. I would put a face on here. So, whoa. Grandmother Spider's going to need some legs. So before you staple her together, you want to make 8 legs, 4 for each side. Spiders, just so you know, are called arachnids, and they do a lot of cool things. There are even spiders that make nets and fish. So spiders are very cool, and there are lots and lots of stories about spiders. There's a famous spider from Africa called Anansi that they tell lots of Anansi stories about. Anansi, the spider's very tricky and kind of naughty. I love Anansi stories. So what I'm going to do is just take an extra piece of paper plate, any kind of paper would do, and I'm going to draw my 8 legs. Now, you can do them any way you want. You could use pipe cleaners. You could cut rectangles out of paper. If you have something else that's long, like a stick, if you had 8 sticks, you could even use 8 sticks as long as you can figure out how to attach them. So mine, I'm just going to cut like this. Give it a couple of snips. There's 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs. And here we go. Come on, Barbie, you can do it. Ta! 4 legs. Uh-oh. Well, almost 4 legs. So, now before you attach your legs, if you want your spider grandmother or your spider puppet, it could be a spider or spider grandpa or spider kid. If you want your spider to be a certain color, you want to make sure and color these before you attach them. My spider's going to be white this time. When I made this puppet, I had a brown box, and I thought, ooh, that's really nice. So then I colored her body to kind of match the brown on the legs. Anyway, so I tape on the legs to the front of the puppet. I attached them here and here. And now I'm going to staple the 2 pieces of paper plate together. And if you've made puppets with me before, you know I like to do the top and the sides and then go back and do the rest. So it's stapled together along here. Now, you could even make a bunch of them. If you need to, your thumb can kind of hold it in back, and that helps too. So there's your spider grandmother, and maybe this could be a spider grandchild. Maybe they could go on an adventure together.
Let's craft. What you need?
Play-Doh.
Spider grandmother also made a pot in her story. I'm going to show you how to make a really simple, quick pinch pot. Pinch pot because you're going to pinch the Play-Doh. Now, I just have some store-bought Play-Doh, but you can make Play-Doh at home really easy with flour, salt, and water. If you want to know how to do that, you can look at the episode about volcanoes that I'm going to do. So you can look through the episodes of the Scarecrow Children's Hour, and you can look for volcanoes. And in that, I'll show how to make Play-Doh that you can use to make pinch pots out of. The first thing you want to do with your Play-Doh or whatever squishy stuff you're going to use, because this is also good for clay, you're going to make a ball. So make a ball out of your dough. Then you're going to take your thumb and push it in the middle. Don't go all the way through. You don't want to go all the way through because it's going to be a pot. And then you just pinch all the way around the sides. Pinch, 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 pinch. And you have a little bowl to hold your fire. Now, this is made out of the Play-Doh I teach in the volcano class. This kind of Play-Doh made with salt and flour can actually be painted on once it's dried. It could be painted or colored on with markers. So if you want to decorate your pot in that way, go to my volcano video and find out how to make that kind of Play-Doh. Or have your adult help you look up salt dough on the internet or in a book.
Let's read a book.
Why the Sun and the Moon Live in the Sky, an African folk tale told by Elphinstone Dayrell, illustrated by Blair Lent. Many years ago, the sun and water were great friends and both lived on the earth together. The sun very often used to visit the water, but the water never returned his visits. At last, the sun asked the water why it was that he never came to see him in his house. The water replied that the sun's house was not big enough and that if he came with his people, he would drive the sun out. The water then said, if you wish me to visit you, you must build a very large house. But I warn you that it will have to be very large, as my people are very numerous and take up a lot of room. The sun promised to build a very large house, and soon afterwards he returned to his wife, the moon, who greeted him with a broad smile. The sun told the moon what he had promised the water, and the next day began building a large house in which to entertain his friend. When it was complete, he asked the water to come and visit him. When the water arrived, one of his people called out to the sun and asked him whether it would be safe for the water to enter, and the sun answered, "Yes, tell my friend to come in." The water then began to flow in, accompanied by the fish and all the water animals. Very soon the water was knee-deep, so he asked the sun if it was still safe, and the sun again said yes. So more of them came in. When the water was level with the top of a man's head, the water said to the sun, "Do you want more of my people to come?" And the sun and the moon both answered yes, not knowing any better. So the water's people flowed on until the sun and the moon had to perch themselves on top of the roof. Again, the water addressed the sun. He recovered the same answer, so more of the people rushed in. The water very soon overflowed the top of the roof, and the sun and the moon were forced to go up into the sky, where they have remained ever since. The end.
Let's craft. What you need.
Paper plate, markers or crayons, cardboard, tape, glue or stapler, scissors.
Now we're moving on to our mask. Again, I'm using a paper plate, but you could use what? A cereal box or some other kind of box. All you want to do is decide what shape you want to start with. The reason I'm using the paper plate this time is because I wanted to make the sun mask from Why the Sun and the Moon Live in the Sky. I like using the paper plate for this because it's already cut in a circle, and it helped me when I was designing because it has almost the rays of the sun going around the outside, has a circle on the inside, and then some places that work really well in design. So take that circle or paper plate, make your face on it, and then you can use, this is an old snack box, to make a headband to go on the back. Now, I made this for a kid, so it's not going to fit my head, but that's how it would go on. Only you would pull it down further. With this, your adult can help you decide where to put eyes and a mouth. Or you can wear it up higher if you want, like this. Your adult would help you get it to be the right size, but like this, you could do this. You could also do any of the other characters that are in that book, because there's lots of beautiful art in that book to get ideas from. All right, thanks for making the activity. Let's move on.
Thanks so much for joining us at Children's Hour. Please be sure and watch our other episodes so that you can learn more about
Off. Fire. Air. Water.